Alright, so here I am just making the barrel concentric with the spindle bore. The problem with touching off on the barrel, though, is that when I contoured the barrel originally, I did not make this bore of the barrel concentric with the lathe spindle. So the outside contour is not concentric, which I don't think will hurt anything, but it's not pretty, not ideal. But I don't think it'll make a difference with respect to performance. But what I'm doing here is turning down the tip of the barrel so that it is concentric with the bore. And that's important so that if you put a muzzle device on there, the bullet passes through the center of it, since it'll be mounted straight and not crooked on the end of the barrel. And I know I should have turned the tool a little bit more clockwise here so that just the tip is touching the workpiece. I have no idea why I didn't do that, and it's a little bit irritating to see that, but you live and learn, and this ended up getting the job done, so it's okay. The important thing is that I get these threads concentric with the bore of the barrel. One thing that occurred to me, though, is how I tried to make the bore of the barrel concentric with the spindle bore, and that is just by touching off on one spot. What you really need to do, and I should have done this when I chambered the barrel, but I didn't, what you really need to do is take measurements in two spots, because one spot could be concentric with the spindle bore, but the barrel could be running off at an angle as it goes into the spindle, so that it's really pointing in a different direction, not concentric with the bore. So that's what I'm doing here, just to make sure I get these threads right. I'm touching off in two spots and shimming where the jaws meet the barrel. And you could put a shim either closer towards the muzzle end there or back further inside the chuck, depending how you want to do it. It's a little easier to do it this way. And if I need to go the other direction, I could just put it on the opposite jaw. So here I'm adjusting it just with a small shim to put a little bit of pressure at that point on the barrel to change the direction that it's pointing to make its bore concentric with the spindle bore of the lathe. And I think I ended up with maybe 2.5. Let's see, there's 10 thousandths and 15, and those are, I think, half thous between tick marks. And I think I got about 2.5 thousandths to run out at one spot on that gauge pin, and maybe about 3.5 thousandths to run out on another spot. So that was pretty close. For me, that's pretty good. And I think it'll be good enough for this. Yeah, you can see it goes just below 10 by about 1,000th, and then maybe 1.5 above the 10. And on this end, it goes about 1,000th from 15 to maybe 1,000th below 10 right there, or so. So that, I think, is about 3.5 thousandths. Here's a better angle of the dial indicator. So that was about 2.5 thousandths, I think. And this one should be around 3.5 thousandths. So that's pretty close. I'm pretty pleased with that. And I should have done this again before I chambered it, but I didn't. But that's got a pilot the reamer has a pilot on it, so I think that'll probably turn out okay. Or probably did turn out okay. Here I'm just doing a scratch pass just to make sure I'm using... just to make sure I have the gears set up properly for the pitch that I want to cut. And I'm trying to cut a 9/16 by 24 pitch thread. That's one of the standard threads used for... to be honest, I wasn't positive that I cut the thread correctly. I thought I had the right gears in place, but I'm not sure. But it doesn't matter that much because I'm planning on making the thing that I'm going to put on the end of this barrel. And so I'll cut those threads myself. And so the two will match. And if I didn't get it right, it just means that it won't be able to accept other devices made by someone else, possibly. And since I couldn't tell for sure if my thread gauge matched that scratch pass, I was checking it again here. But I still wasn't totally convinced I had it right. But it was close enough that I was having trouble telling. And here I'm just sharpening my bit to get a little smaller point on it since I'm cutting a pretty small thread. It is just a spring pass. Another spring pass. Another spring pass. Okay, spring pass. Now here you can see me trying to thread a thread protector on there, and I never could get it to go on all the way. I stopped cutting before it went on all the way, and I don't have a 9/16 by 24 thread per inch tap, so I couldn't try to run a tap through it to make sure those threads were clean and that it's the pitch I was expecting. So that's why I'm not entirely convinced that I was cutting the correct thread on there. But as I said, it's not critical since I'll be making the mating threads myself.